Aside from defeats at Notts County, it's been a week of positives for Mansfield Town. 98 games Mansfield went without scoring a penalty, but finally Craig Westcott puts one on the net and that bad run ends. The victory at York coming from behind, and the green machine is back up and running. This is STAGS. My name's Greg Briggs, and I'm joined as ever by John Maymas to talk all things Mansfield Town as we look ahead to another game on Saturday. So John, from behind last year, Mansfield probably wouldn't have done that, but the green machine back from running and victory at York.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't at the game myself, but I've spoken to a lot of people who were and seen the highlights on the television, and certainly a fabulous win. The sort of place that if you are going to go places this year, you need to go away from with some points, and Mansfield did it the hard way. Conceded the early goal, but fought the way back into the game, and apparently once they'd taken the lead, they never really looked like relinquishing it. So very, very satisfactory from the defending point of view for the other 87 minutes.
It certainly was, and I was at the game myself, and the goal to give away the first one, very sloppy, very Mansfield of old, come for a set piece, no communication, just an easy ball into the box, and you sort of saw when Green went down the other end and put the equaliser in, a scuffy goal, short corner. I think Nicky Hunt took it. It was a very short one to Chapman on the edge of the box. We're all thinking, what's that? It's a waste. And the next minute the ball's in the back of the net, and Matt Green's tearing away back down towards the STAGS fans. You're thinking, oh right, he's off and running. Is he?
Sure, that's been worked on.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Yeah, that's what they'll say anyway. Certainly so. But again, he looked very sharp. He looked back to the Green of old. He got into those positions, got down the channels, got in behind defenders. Really got up defenders' noses and shirts as well, and put them under a lot of pressure. It was nice to see him back and running, and we just need to hope that he can do the same on Saturday and keep that momentum going, really.
Yeah, I think since he's come back, I think we've all seen that he does look that little bit stronger, that little bit heavier, not in a bad way, but in a way that he looks like he can fend defenders off even better than before. He's put an awful lot of work into his rehab, and all he needed really was goals, and I think those two goals would have done him the power of good. And I can't wait to see him going at Wimbledon on Saturday. He's
very much a confidence player, as Matt Green is. We saw it, the week ago, so when he missed the penalty and squandered a few chances against Oxford, that it wasn't going his way. I think Adam Murray said it in the press, didn't he? That he wouldn't have liked to face Matt Green after that, and it certainly showed. But goals do breed confidence, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, strikers are kind of very selfish people in the footballing sense, that they're very, very single-minded. And Matt Green would have been like a bear with a sore head all weekend. He would have been desperate to get out there at York and put the Oxford game behind him, and certainly went and did that. So I was kind of disappointed in a way that we didn't see him at Notts County on Tuesday, but certainly the same thing for Saturday for Wimbledon, and Wimbledon, Mansfield won the points in that one. They did the first home win of the season, and Green will be raring to go.
Let's briefly touch upon Notts County on Tuesday, another early exit for the STAGS in the JPT. Slightly disappointed from my personal point of view. I mean, a lot of fans, it's out of the way, but I have to say that always me. I'm always the one. I have to say I'm slightly disappointed that Mansfield didn't give it as much of a go as what they could do. But again, there was changes in there. There was rusty players, and without no reserve team, I think that was probably always going to happen. Notts County, the manager, he had a point to prove, didn't he? He'd been on a bit of a bad run after losing to us a couple of weeks ago. He needed to get a win under his belt, and they didn't make too many changes. They fielded a fairly strong 11. So I guess, despite conceding 3, there will be some positives in there for Adam Murray, who will look to very quickly refocus on AFC Wimbledon on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Murray used the game very much for experimenting with things. We had a 3-man defence with Adam Chapman in there in the first half, and to be fair, they didn't concede. Didn't create much either. The whole game could have been very, very different had Yusuf put his one-on-one away when he was free. He didn't. Loach made the save, and from that point onwards, really, it was Notts County's evening. But there are 6 players there who haven't been starting for Mansfield, and they desperately needed some football. The good thing was that Murray didn't disrespect the competition and put out a load of kids. He actually put out his first team players, but just first team players that haven't been starting recently. And you couldn't really argue with that. They're all players that will play a massive part in Mansfield Town's campaign, and they gave it a good go. But it was evident as the game wore on that they haven't played much football. It started to get a little bit ring rusty, and slowly but surely Notts turned the screw, and they got the first goal. A couple of late goals, and then obviously Mansfield just had that consolation in stoppage time.
But what a consolation to get. 98 games ago without scoring a penalty, very close to the big 100, of course.
Or was it 88? I think it might
90.
I thought it was 88.
I thought 90. I read 98 on the reports. So
Yeah.
We'll blame Martin Shaw for that one if it's wrong. But he's never wrong, is he?
No, he isn't, to be fair. It was nice to get another penalty. That's 2 or 3 games now. I mean,
yeah.
Lady Luck, she's been a long way away from Mansfield in recent seasons, but you kind of think if football does even out, we're going to get a glut of penalties this season. And Westcar, he strode up and put that one away. He got quite a few boos on the evening being back at one of his old clubs, and I think he quite enjoyed putting that one in the back of the net, but it didn't really matter by then, to be honest. The night had fallen pretty flat. As soon as not second goal went in, there's a lot of people decided to perhaps make a bolt for the door. It was getting a little bit chilly, and the atmosphere from the league game 3 weeks ago was very, very different, with 2,700 Mansfield fans, just 700 there the other night. Not an awful lot for them to cheer, but I think they'll take heart from some of the performances in there. We've got some very, very good players sitting in the wings, and those players have shook off some rust now, and they're ready for the called upon.
And the good thing is now as well is there's no midweek game for a couple of weeks, so opportunity for Adam Murray to arrange some behind closed doors friendlies and get players like that fit.
Yeah, he said after the game, that's what he really does need to do now. There's no substitute for playing football, and at the moment, without a reserve team, he has got that issue that players can sit there on the sidelines if things are going well, which obviously you want them to, and they're not going to get a game of football. So some behind closed doors friendlies will be very, very useful now. We haven't got anything now until we play Stevenage in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, so definitely get those on the calendar.
Certainly. So again, a lot of people, have sort of said why the lack of reserve team. We touched on it a couple of weeks ago, and we said, it'd be unfair to go into a reserve team when you've not got as big a squad, because you can put a lot of kids in there. Whereas these behind closed doors friendlies, you can put a few kids in there, but you can get those key players, your Marsden, your Collins, who's been out injured, your players like that, Maguire as well, who's not played a lot of first team football in the last couple of weeks. You can get them fit and ready to go when they come in, because otherwise the danger is, for example, if someone, let's just say, for argument's sake, Nicky Hunt picks up an injury or something like that, and Marsden was to come in at right back, and you've got to play for 3 or 4 weeks, you can't have that rustiness in a league game, and that's the importance of these behind closed doors friendlies.
Yeah, he seems to go around in circles with this reserve team thing at Mansfield. I remember back when Kerr was manager, and they were putting an awful lot of young players into the reserve team. They were getting tonked quite heavily here and there, and Kerr said it wasn't good for them, and Mansfield got rid of the reserve team. Then we got the reserve team back, and we said we haven't really got enough players, we're having to put the young people in. I would have one. At the end of the day, who cares about the results? Young players going in there, they're learning the trade up against men, and they just need to actually, raise their game. They can see what benchmark it is that they're aiming for, and I don't think it does them an awful lot of good. I don't think it destroys them at the end of the day, and I think having a reserve team down there is very important, and it is immediately, as you can see, causing issues in terms of the fitness of players.
And do you know what else that does as well? Even if you are putting 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9 kids in there, and you're just playing 1 or 2 first team players in there, what these behind closed doors games don't do is give you an edge of competitiveness. The behind closed doors, there's no fans, even reserve team games, even away from home or even at home, 50, 60, maybe up to 100 people, depending on when it is or when you're playing, come down and watch. And even though it does feel quite sparse and quite empty and a little bit lifeless, there is that edge of competitiveness in there, and that's the only other way you're going to get competitiveness other than playing in a league game. So I agree that they should perhaps have looked at getting that reserve team back.
I agree.
Looking on to, of course, deadline day. A year ago on deadline day at the Death, we lost Lucas to those up the road, although we made a nice profit. Cheers, Chesterfield. This year, no activity whatsoever. You're always looking at on deadline day, aren't you? Like, for example, your key players such as Tafazoli, players like that, you're always looking at someone going to come and take the bid, but we've managed to keep hold of them, and a relatively quiet one from Adam Murray this year.
Yeah, there certainly was no point in Murray going out bringing players in. We've got Matty Blair coming back into the squad in the next couple of weeks. Everybody for once is fit and healthy at this stage of the season. So realistically, there was no point in bringing players in to sit and watch. In terms of going out, Tafazoli has started this season like he started last, and you kind of think somebody somewhere must fancy that. And then also Jack Thomas, young lad with the world at his feet really. He hasn't had much of a sniff this season so far, but last season he excelled. And again, everybody's got that on their radar, everybody knows what he can do, and you kind of wonder if somebody would come in and make a cheeky bid for him as well. There are a lot of decent players in there who maybe 1 or 2 bigger clubs could have come in and taken. So I think we get through that deadline day this year with a little bit of relief, and we can take it forward now.
Certainly. So you look at Jack Thomas as well. Touch on him for a minute. He played towards the back end of last season. got the headlines, several man of the match performances, a couple of decent goals as well in there as well. Not had the chance to see one this year, and when he has, for me, I don't know whether you would be inclined to agree on this, John, but he seems to be out of position, and Murray seems to be trying him in different places. A lot of places he seems to be going a lot wider this year than what he has last year, not being given that freedom. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't really know what instructions are being given in his ear as he goes out to the field, but he certainly hasn't performed to the same levels of eye-catching ability that he did last year so far, but he hasn't really had much of a sniff. I think if you put him in central midfield and gave him 3 games on the trot, he would make an impact. But at the moment, Mitch Rose has come in there, the player that everyone's like, who? And he's actually taken it by the scruff of the neck and turned in impressive performance after impressive performance. You're certainly never going to fault selections of people like Clements and Chapman. So realistically, that position, there's such competition for it this year. Jamie Maguire came in the other night, and he might be short of fitness, but he's not short of hunger, and he gave a typical Jamie Maguire performance. With a few less in the ground, you could hear him screaming every few minutes from where we were in the press box.
Not that you can translate it, obviously.
No idea what he said. I think one of those Star Trek translators that translates Scouse. But so he's still the tiger that he was. He's going to want a place in there. He'll have a part to play in the season, same as Jack Thomas will. But at least we've got Jack Thomas now for a while, and Murray can continue to develop him and work out the best way to use it.
Yeah, a lot of different fixtures coming up, a lot of different games and types. If Murray can, as we say, can get these behind the closed doors friendlies in and against a decent opposition as well, I think that's always the difficulty with that one as well, isn't it? There's no point in playing it behind closed doors friendly against, no disrespect to them, but someone like Weymouth. You need to be playing a team that's similar to you and similar to teams that you're going to be playing in a couple of weeks' time, don't you?
You do, yeah. I mean, any game shakes off the rust, as you say, but it's just taking it to that next level. It's just trying to get that, squeeze that little bit more out of you, which you'll get against better players.
Certainly so. Let's look ahead to AFC Wimbledon then on Saturday, back at the One Call Stadium. Matt Green, hopefully he can continue his scoring run. But what do you think is going to happen in this game? What's your opinions on it?
I think Murray will probably revert back the 6 changes that he made in the week, and we'll probably go with the side that's played at York. They did nothing wrong there, and I think Wimbledon will be a test. And think back to last year, that crucial win over them. That was a fabulous night. There certainly will be a test, but Mansfield are due their first home win of the season. Green's now firing on all cylinders, and I do fancy it. Be very interesting to see if they get Maguire out there again and put him up against Akinfenwa, because that was one of the funniest moments of last season when they put him out there and just annoy him. He's huge, you're not going to be able to do much with him, so just annoy him. So he spent the 90 minutes annoying him, which was fabulous to watch. Obviously Akinfenwa, a bit of a man mountain known as the Beast, and Mansfield's goalkeeper Brian Jensen,
there's only one beast.
Also the Beast. So if they go through one-on-one, then watch out. Worlds collide.
Oh, it'd be like the Big Bang 2.
It would.
There's only one beast though, isn't it? As I'm sure Brian would argue. I wonder we'll look forward to that one, of course, and hopefully Stags can get another win on the board. Obviously no midweek game ahead, so obviously, like we mentioned, opportunity for Murray to get behind closed doors friendly in. Which of the players do you think need a little bit of extra game time than for those that can come in?
Everybody's not in the starting 11 at the moment. But they all showed on Tuesday night that they need that little bit of fine-tuning, that little bit of a step up, so that they do all need a game, and I would play them all.
Certainly so. We've got a few coming back from injuries. But any news on Scott Shearer yet? Is he back in training?
The last we heard, he was probably only about a week away, so I'm sure he'll be fine. The ankle's now gone down. Whatever he was bitten by in Sheffield, and next time I go to Sheffield, I'm going to have some inoculations, as I say. Can't be too careful. He'll be back involved, but at the moment, who's going to take that shirt off, Jensen?
Certainly not. I mean, even though he conceded 3 at Notts County, you can pinpoint those to defensive errors, and in some cases a little bit of rustiness in there. Every keeper has a bad day, everyone has a nightmare, but again, I think if you look at the results and look at the performances since Jensen's come in, no disrespect again to Shearer, but they seem a lot more settled and a lot more able to build from the back and to start playing the ball around the pitch and using the width and using all the players to their ability. But we've played a month of the season now. We've played we're into September, August has gone, everyone's back to school. So in terms of back to school, let's have a little bit of a school report on some of the players then. So who has caught your eye in the first month of the season?
I think Mitch Rose has been a revelation. He can do all the dirty work, he gets stuck in, but he actually finds Mansfield shirts when he passes the ball, which we've struggled with that in that department at times. So he's a great ball winner. Benning, at last we appear to have a left back that is quality. Obviously Matt Green, everybody knows what he can do. So, you know, we've got two quality goalkeepers there. The central defensive partnership, Tafazoli and Pearce, has been immense.
I think Collins has got a lot to do there, hasn't he, to force his way back in?
Yeah, he was probably responsible for not cutting out one of their goals on Tuesday night, which he'll be disappointed with. And Pearce didn't have quite as good a game without Tafazoli alongside him. So those two have really forged a good partnership.
I mean, you look at that as well, you know, down the years, central defenders are alright, sort of, as individuals, some can play with anyone, but sometimes you get partnerships which only work with each other. You look at, I know this is going back a couple of years, but you look at the likes of when we got promoted, you look at the partnership between Dempster and Jones, but individually, if you're pairing them with somebody else, it didn't quite work. And sometimes they say that strike partnerships are the best partnerships there, but I disagree. I think that the partnership at the back is probably one of the strongest that you need.
Yeah, definitely, and those two have really, really clicked. I think a lot of people thought that Collins would start the season probably alongside Pearce. Tafazoli, you know, was a little bit out of the picture. The pre-season knock to Collins was a real door opener for Tafazoli, and he's taken that chance with both hands. We knew what he could do. Last season he started off like an express train and just kind of tailed off in his performances, but he's really knuckled down now. I think Adam Murray's told him what a good player he could be, and you know, he's still young if he's got the will at his feet. Once upon a time he was on the books at Southampton and probably thought he was on course for stardom, and you know, the world disappeared for him a little bit, but he's rebuilding that career now, and he's still got lots of time ahead of him. So yeah, definitely for Tafazoli this has worked out very, very well for him, and Pearce alongside him, it's just clicked, as I say, and you know, Collins at the moment is going to have to be patient.
What about those then that you think we could see a little bit more of and need to perhaps do a little bit better to stake their claim in the Mansfield Town side?
Well, all the lads on the bench at the moment, that they all need to do a little bit more. At the moment, I've probably not seen what I expected from Nathan Thomas. We've seen glimpses from him. Reggie Lamb again, you know what he can do sometimes, but he doesn't do it maybe often enough. But that's wingers for you. All the lads that are on the bench at the moment, that they all have quality, and they're going to need to step it up and try and get into that side. And obviously Matty Blair's not too far away, and we're all hoping to see this new improved Matty Blair that Adam Murray says he's seen in training.
Certainly hope so. I think one player that I'm going to add to this is Adi Yusuf. As you know, we mentioned that he missed the one-on-one against Notts County, and I think unfairly, again I might get shot in the foot here a little bit by some fans, but I think unfairly he's being compared a lot to Matt Green. You know, we do rely a lot on Matt Green. He is the goal machine. He is the one that we look for to score all the goals and to get us going a little bit. But when Green is out and Yusuf is in, it's almost like Yusuf is not wearing Yusuf on the back of his shirt. It's almost like he's wearing Green Mark 2, isn't it? And I think that comparison sometimes can hinder him. What's your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think Adi Yusuf, I think you're better off comparing him with Ollie Palmer.
Yeah.
And saying this is a player from 2 levels below. Can he make the step up? Ollie, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. He didn't actually make the step up, even though he scored goals for fun, 2 levels below. And Yusuf was scoring goals for fun 2 levels below. He's now got to prove that he can make that step up. And on Tuesday night's performance, he didn't.
I think we saw it in pre-season, didn't we?
In pre-season we saw glimpses of him, but when the pressure was really on Tuesday in an away derby, he didn't hold the ball up as well as he probably could, and there were times where he went down blind alleys and he missed a one-on-one chance. So, he didn't have the best of nights, but to be fair to him, it's early days. He hasn't been playing football, and maybe a fully fit Adi Yusuf, who's got 3 or 4 games under his belt, is suddenly going to start scoring goals at this level. It happens. Players do come to this level and it works. It happens that they don't, as we've seen with Ollie. So, I wish him all the best, and I really hope that he can show us what he can do. He didn't do on Tuesday, but it's early days.
Again, it's a matter of minutes, isn't it? Probably a lot like Green in some respects. I'm contradicting myself in some ways, but goals breed confidence and minutes breed confidence. So if he can show Murray what he can do on the training pitch and in these behind closed doors friendlies, then who knows? But moving on to Wimbledon then on Saturday, let's have some predictions then.
2-0 to Mansfield. I think we're going to get that home win this weekend, and that will breed a lot of confidence. Be up and running, and hopefully we'll get a better attendance in the last home game, because I was pleasantly surprised with the opening day attendance against Carlisle, right bang in the holiday season when sometimes you don't get everybody down there. And they've not done an awful lot wrong really, and to see the drop off for the Oxford game, it was quite startling. So hopefully people won't get too much into the Notts County results in midweek. They'll be more interested in what happened at York last weekend. The full first team will be back out this weekend, and there are 3 points there on offer, so get down there and support them.
Certainly so. Well then, the kids are back at school, so get yourselves back to the One Call Stadium on Saturday as the Stags face AFC Wimbledon. For all the news, views and reactions and comments, get on to chad.co.uk. That is it from this week for another Stags Talk. We shall see you same time next week. Thanks for watching.